When you think of maple syrup producers, you might think that's a product of New England. But we have a producer right here in Kentucky. Federal Grove is a wonderful bed and breakfast in Auburn, Kentucky, and they are also maple syrup producers. Let's pay a visit and see how they get maple syrup out of maple trees and prepare it for your table.
That floating of aroma in the air is something that attracts everybody. During our festival, everybody wants to huddle around the sugar house because that steam is awfully sweet to smell. It's just a kind of a foreign idea of doing maple syrup in Kentucky. It's such a strange notion to do that this far south. We claim to be the southernmost maple producer. We'll continue to add that banner to ourselves until someone proves us different. But being this far south, unless someone's had a New England experience in Vermont or going to a sugar house up north, they probably haven't experienced it firsthand. Well, we actually started about 2008. We were just kind of thinking about what sort of product idea we might could have for Federal Grove, how to promote the bed and breakfast and restaurant. Maple syrup is something that my father-in-law up in Lawrenceburg had attempted and done successfully a few years back. So I thought, you know, it's not that much, we're not that much further south, so we should be able to pull that off. And we tapped our first tree. The one back over behind us there is a little sample test tap, and it immediately in the middle of January began to flow. We said, you know, we've got 50 more in the yard here, so why not just continue this? And we began to assimilate the necessary equipment to do it, and it started our little maple industry here. Well, from sap to syrup, it's an arduous task, to say the least. This process begins, you know, from maple trees. Sugar maple trees is what we have. Early to mid-January, we'll actually come and tap that tree. We go in about 2 inches deep with a drill. The trees give sap. When we have a night of freezing weather, a day of thawing, the sap flows. We collect that sap from the woods, haul it in from various methods, gators, trucks, whatever it takes to haul it. It does become a large process of hauling because you have lots of gallonage out there in the woods to collect. You've got to haul it all back to a central processing facility, which we call the sugar house. And once that is all brought back to the sugar house, it's just a series, just a sequence of condensing that product through a series of evaporation methods. One of which we run it up into our sap tank. Once it goes in there, we start this boiling process. But to be pure maple syrup, all we're doing is removing water from the sap. We start out at about 98% water, 2% sugar, and we're wanting to achieve a 66% sugar product. And at that point, it is maple syrup. But we're just meandering it through this process of evaporation, all the while losing water, concentrating the sugar into that sweet stuff we call maple syrup. Smell that? There's different methods of collection, and in our method here at this farm, we're actually doing gravity sap collection, which is the lesser way to collect. You actually could produce more if you were on vacuum, but we have buckets hanging from the trees. This is the traditional form of collecting of sap, but that's really the least labor intensive, which we like. But one tree on the gravity method will produce about a quart of finished syrup. I'm sorry, one tap hole, I should say, will produce about a finished quart of syrup in a season. So if you're at a 40 to 1 gallon ratio, you're talking about 10 gallons of sap that tree will produce, or that one tap hole will produce in a season. Well, the main thing, you know, with groups like that we're here today, and even adults that come in, you know, it's just a kind of a foreign idea of doing maple syrup in Kentucky. So we want to kind of walk them through all the processes of the maple industry, and, you know, who is big in it, who is small. We are the smallest state as far as we know of production. And just, you know, how difficult it is. You know, maple syrup is considerably more expensive than pancake syrup, which is corn syrup. And we want to explain to them why, you know, why there's so much labor involved. There's such a process to get it to that pure state. Very few pure products anymore. Maple syrup is one of those, and we want to emphasize the importance of that. And everyone's trying to get back to the land and understand the origin of their foods, and what better way to come and watch a natural product being made in your backyard.
When it comes to the front tank,
And then we're going to finish it. We've got to be good stewards of what we've been given. We've been given wonderful maple trees. They're a tremendous resource. A little small tree, I was just telling the kids earlier today, it takes almost 20 to 25 years for that tree just to be healthy enough, large enough to produce sap that we can take. And if we handle things properly and use our standards that the maple industry has created to protect those trees, they literally can give that sap their entire life, beyond our generation. 75 to 100 years from now, those trees will still be producing. And I've been to sugar bushes, which is what a cluster of maple trees is called up north, and there are trees that have been tapped there for over 100 years, and they're still healthy, vibrant trees. And there's no harm done to them in the process, and nature's way of giving back to us an awfully sweet sampling of their work, I guess. I do tend to have a little pride when it comes to Federal Grove. I love our place here. I think that folks, and I see people enjoying themselves when they come to Federal Grove. It's a place that folks gather and get together. We always see them in a celebratory mood. They're always here and they're happy and they're having a good time. So it makes us have a good time. It's fun serving people when they're having fun. But we proudly serve our folks meals. We have the bed and breakfast, and we also, the maple syrup has become an integral part of our business as well. As kind of letting folks know what we do that's special around here. You can eat a meal here, but you also can see something done that's probably not done, at least publicly, for several hundred miles away. God has blessed me with what I have here, and we've been able to do this and make a living at it. And the old adage, and I've heard it in recent days, if you do what you love, you'll never work a day in your life. And I feel like that's what we're doing here.